Okay, so let's go. Thank you so much, Vinay.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
So I invite my next guest, that is Anju Kurian. Anju, are you there? So Anju is someone, not Anjali, she's Anju.
Hi,
And
Anu.
hi, she's someone very special in my life. And I met her after I came back to Bombay from Czech Republic. She's a friend of my friend. And we often met each other at the parties. And you meet somebody who's so warm, so beautiful, just embraces you and holds you tight. That's the kind of feeling I've always got with her. You feel at home with her. It's like you can consider her as your nest, someone you can trust, someone you can hold hand, someone who you can tell, you know what, I have a problem today, can you please help me out? Very thoughtful, very sensitive, and an amazing mother, an amazing woman, an amazing wife. And more than anything else, I think she's an amazing boss, because I've met a lot of her colleagues who came to my place, and she was open hearted to recommend my name to many people. That doesn't happen often. People keep their doctor, their trusted people to themselves and never want to share. But that's not Anju. Anju will share and happily carry you places. And yet, she will tell you what really happened to her and how she coped up with how circumstances come in our life. Sometimes you look at people and then you say they're so nice, they're so beautiful. God should never give them any trouble. But God is not giving you trouble to test you. He's giving you troubles to basically, I feel, somewhere to kind of rub you into making a beautiful diamond. And that's what I feel right now Anju has become. So, Anju, over to you. Thank you so much for accepting my invite. Thank you so much, because truly from the bottom of my heart, I feel you are someone I could put my head down on and rest. Thank you.
Thank you, Anu. You've really done a very generous introduction. I was blushing if you could see me.
I know I can understand my receiving is equally bad. So,
So, anyway, thank you so much. And when Anu asked me if I could be on this show, there's no way that I would have said no to Anu. She was part of a journey with me, which I think uh, was actually very, very beautiful. And I am what I call myself as a cancer thriver. Uh, I was 48 years old when life was, as far as I was concerned, it was blooming. It was at its peak. The children were growing up well. There was work, family, party, you name it, travel. We were having a great time, and it was really one bright day that we went to the doctor. I was, my husband actually pushed me to go to the doctor because I was avoiding it. I was in denial of the fact that there was a lump in my breast, and I ignored and ignored and ignored till I was pushed to go to the doctor. And it just so happens that it was Corinne's birthday when we got the full report. And I think what was more disturbing was that it wasn't just in my breast, the cancer was also in my liver. And the doctors and family doctors, which is my sister and brother-in-law, everybody, the focus turned to uh, the liver more than the breast. And that became a bit of a scare, so to say. uh, I think the first week, uh, we must we all sat in a bit of a daze in shock and trying to figure out how do we deal with this. This wasn't something that we were prepared for. And as a family, we took some conscious decisions of being very, very open about the ailment. So we spoke to, starting from the house, we spoke to the children first. One was 20, one was 14. Both were not at home. One was studying in the US, the other was in a boarding school in Lonavala. We decided to share the news with them absolutely openly. Uh, and we decided to discuss every part of the treatment with them. So much so, this disease comes with the minute you say cancer, it's really as an equal to death. And everybody starts pitying you. They pity your family. There is a murmur behind you. Every time you walk, there's a murmur behind that you hear. And it's something that makes you say, you know, my cells have, something has gone wrong with my cells, but I don't need pity. The last thing I need from anybody is, you know, a pity or a buzz behind my back. And so one of the conscious, I think, things that we did, especially with Aman, that's our son's this thing. We went to his school. We told his teachers. We also told his friends, because living away from home, friends can start pitying you and behave in a manner which we did not know how a 14-year-old would go through. So we told the parents of all the children too, so that he would get the support while the treatment was on. And again, at every stage, we would, I went bold, I went to school to show the children that this was happening to me. So it wasn't a hidden fact. And I went through a strange emotion of actually feeling, the first week, feeling that I had maybe let my family down. I didn't think that death was going to be looking at my face so early. And, you know, I just thought life was going on so beautifully. What is it that I've done? I've suddenly put a spanner in everybody's life. And it took us about a week, 10 days to get out of, it took me about a week, 10 days to get out of this mode. And I think there I suddenly started thinking, I don't look like a patient. I didn't feel like a patient. So why should I behave like one? And decided that if this is what has come to us, I'm going to try. The doctors were doing their work, and I would try everything that came my way. I found friends, families, uh, colleagues, everybody coming out to help. And instead of saying no to anybody or getting overwhelmed by it, I pretty much made a little diary and I started writing down every therapy that came to me. And Anu was actually one of them too. And I said, I will try. I said, I will try everything. And so I started dancing, learning Kathak with another friend. Yoga came my way and came to me beautifully. There's something called Yog Nidra that came to me. It pretty much, things just kept coming to me and I was absorbing them like a sponge. And I saw it working wonders in my life. I got cancer coaching. I mean, nobody's even heard of that concept. But in the first week, I was fortunate and blessed enough to have that come to my life. I moved into becoming a vegan without a problem, and I can tell you how vegan changed my and why I started. I got so committed to veganism. I started chanting. I did Reiki. There was a Japanese art of healing, massages. You name it. I did Sufi dancing, twirling, and how meditative that is. It was very, very fascinating. I suddenly found myself expanding my horizons in a way that I had never done before. While I was so-called enjoying my life, I suddenly felt that probably I was living with blinkers. There was a prototype of a happy person and a happy this thing, and I was probably living that to the full. I was being a super mom. I was pushing myself at work. I was pushing myself to do housework, just revving up and moving on from morning to evening. Not realizing that I actually wasn't nurturing myself. And the journey that I started taking on after that with all these therapies made me realize that I was not nurturing myself. And breast cancer has a very, very strong association with nurturing. And some of the things that I learned was, from my breast, my cancer had gone to the liver. No, Anu asked, why did it go to the liver? I had no idea. Liver is supposed to be the bed for resentment and anger. Anybody seeing me would say, Anju can't be angry. But I was holding so much of resentment in me, which wasn't even visible to me. And unpeeling something that is not even visible was a process and a combination of therapies. And so much so that after, I was given chemos first before the surgery, which ended up being a mastectomy. Uh, I was very, very fortunate, I feel, because of the therapies that along with the chemo that I did, that in my final PET scan, there was not a trace in my liver. And the doctors then had to deal only with the breast, which was between the two, the better of the two to have. And I think my faith in the holistic healing just went leaps and bounds. And another interesting thing I did was actually cellular healing, which is a combination of a lot of practices brought together, which really talks to your cells. You really talk inward. You talk to your cells, and that was fascinating. Uh, I didn't stop working. I decided that I would do everything that I wanted to, because at that time actually I didn't know how long this journey would be or how long I would live. And the first 3 months, my husband would give me a lot of the motivation tips. And then something changed within 2 to 3 months, where I took charge of this whole thing in my hands and I started doing the reading. I started seeing my cancer cells as a bully that I needed to calm down. So with every PET scan, I would see the intensity going down. So it was really like having a dialogue with your cells, calming them down. They're really like, I felt that they were like little nasty bullies playing havoc with me. And how could I calm them down? I could calm them down with anger. I could calm them down with, banging fist. I decided to calm them down with.
There's no question.
Pardon?
Somebody is not.
Calming techniques. So that's really been my journey. I also reached a stage where I started doing rallies with some friends, driving rallies. And one of the messages that came very strong to me was that I really began to love my cancer, because it gave me, not just me, but it also gave my family, uh, I think, what do you call them? Tools, I'll call them, or do I call them therapies that help develop individuals? And I'm grateful to have got this, and I call it, I say, I love my cancer. A little bit of a cliche, little bit of an odd statement, but that's how I feel about it. And I really feel it changed me uh, dramatically. I mean, you might not be able to see some of the things, but I feel I'm a changed person and a new person. And so, Sanu, that's my story. I'd be happy to.
Wonderful. I have a few questions for you. And then, guys, if you have any questions, put them down in chat so that I can read it out to her. Or if you put it down in the chat that you have a question, yes, I have a question, then I can unmute you and you can talk to her. So, Anju, I want to know the day you came to know that you had cancer. That day was your husband's birthday. You called friends home. And I believe you continued with your celebration. How did you manage that? Can everybody please mute? Thank you.
I think somewhere I compartmentalized something in my mind. While the news came, Kurin's first reaction was, "Let's cancel the evening. I'm not in no mood." So again, as I said, I wasn't feeling like a patient. You're telling me that I've got cancer, but I'm not feeling it. So my first reaction was, let's deal with it tomorrow. We've called people, we need to meet our friends, we thrive on that. So we decided that, I mean, I put my foot down and said, no, we'll continue with it. I didn't feel like making it a sobbing story.
But that's who you have been always, haven't you?
Well, but having said that, I had suppressed anger. So look at the contradictions.
Yeah. So tell me, Anju, when you actually realized and you said cancer is equivalent to death, you knew you're standing there, especially during this lockdown. So many people are wanting to give up their life. And we hear people committing suicides. So many people, even without the lockdown, are locked in their heads. They're locked emotionally, they're locked physically, they're locked mentally, they're locked with people and they are unhappy. How did you manage to get out of this lock that you had put on yourself? What did you tell
I think
yourself? What did you
uh,
tell yourself basically, that you have to continue? Yes, but what did you really tell yourself? Because when death is standing in front of you, you can either look at death or life. How did you
yeah.
look at life when you're looking at death?
Uh, I think I was either fortunate to be able to break it down into, or a therapist came to me which taught me how to breathe. I suddenly realized that some of the yoga techniques that I started learning, it is, if you're breathing, you're alive. So if I'm alive, why am I thinking of death? I mean, today I'm alive, and if I'm alive and I'm breathing and I've learned to breathe even better, and I was told that the one thing that, when nothing can work for cancer, what works is oxygen when it goes in. And what takes in oxygen is breath. The minute breath goes in, it fights it in my mind, I'd visualize that it's calming the cells. It's giving the good cells enough immunity to push back the bullies. And I think breathing is something that I learned, and that gave me a lot of self power within myself. And in fact, even in this COVID situation, if everybody just starts thinking that they are breathing, they stay with the universe, they stay on earth in uncontrolled environments, they will find themselves, becoming one with nature, as very often people say. I think if you can look at that kind of a feeling, you'd probably feel less depressed, less sad, because there's so much that nature gives us, which we don't even notice in the city life. And that is a big shift that happened with me in looking at the universe, nature, the earth.
What today is success for you, Anju? Because you were running and we had a conversation and you said, I was just running. I was just running. I was just running before I got cancer.
Yeah,
And then cancer just put a pause.
yeah.
So, what changed because of that pause?
What changed?
Because of that pause.
uh, I think I just learned to slow down and admire what I have, versus hankering for something new, something fresh. Run behind that new thing, run behind a new car, run behind this thing. It all loses meaning in front of death. So suddenly,
Oh, beautifully said.
uh, so
Can I
suddenly,
please request everybody to off their phone, off their, mute themselves? Thank you.
beautiful song coming.
Yeah, it is a beautiful song. Yes.
So all those things didn't hold any meaning, So I suddenly found myself really slowing down and genuinely from the heart being grateful for a lot of things. I mean, if I sailed through my treatment, it was because so much came to me from the universe, uh, in the form of friends, family, colleagues.
Why do we not receive till we realize that death is going to come? This is something I'm learning every day. When everybody was saying thank you so much after the 6th or the 10th, thank you so much, and I said thank you, thank you, thank you, I suddenly didn't answer yesterday, and I sat down with myself asking myself, why are we not receiving? Why am I not receiving? Why do we block our receiving? And only when death comes knocking on our door do we want our receiving to open. It cannot suddenly open. I mean, I've seen my mom being very difficult even to take a lift from me. If I was to send her something, it would be very difficult for her to accept it gracefully. And yes, I was mimicking it, but I really want to know from your point of view, Anju, why is our receiving so shut down? Why are we so focused only on, you know, the car, the better school, the better college, and we take one thing for granted, which is life, when we all know that there is no one on this earth who's lived forever.
I think we're leading a very external life, not an internal life. Uh, Everything is associated with something external. Uh, what will so and so do? What will so and so say? How will I get perceived? So I think we're leading a bit of a fearful life, and that's nothing. There's nothing an individual. It's like it's a society problem. I feel, which is which has brewed it up to a spiral, and your success seems to get defined by that. And
What would
once
you
you
say
actually,
is success today? What would you say is success today
for me, or
for you?
just internal happiness.
Wow.
You feel internally calm or internally happy. I think that's what I feel is my success. And it can easily topple with one little thing. It's constant work that you do on yourself. It's not a done deal.
Is there something you lost during this process? Something very meaningful for you? Is there something that you lost during this process?
Lost in this journey.
Yes.
I definitely lost my anger.
Pardon? You lost
I
your.
definitely lost my anger.
Okay. What else?
Um, Sorry, you'll have to tell me what direction would you?
You lost a
I
part of your body, didn't you?
Yes. Okay, I'm one breast down. I had a mastectomy, so
So how did you cope up
I
with that?
joke about it, huh?
No, how did you cope up with it? Because to be really honest, I remember when the program started, I was so used to having my hair always colored that even this little white was troubling me. And you know, then to walk around without any hair, without one breast, and how did you manage that? I mean, there are people who can fall in a trap of being lost forever from there. How did you? And it's so beautiful. Even when I asked you, what did you lose, you said, I lost my anger. But you didn't know you had it and you lost it. But you
Hmm.
knew that you had a breast and you lost it. You knew you had hair, you lost it. I know that it all came back, but how did you manage? Because really, it must have been
No, the
challenging.
first bit was, I must say, I tried my level best to save the breast. My lump was big. The doctor had said that he would do the chemos and then look how small it has become, and then he would do the surgery. But after the eighth chemo, he said, "No, I will have to do a mastectomy." Uh, the doctor was so gentle. An hour before the surgery, I told him, "Can you save it?" He still took me to the mammogram room to check whether he could do a lumpectomy and not do a mastectomy. But he did it. And I think once that happened, I still remember going for a dressing change and I wasn't looking down. So he told me, Anju, if you don't look down, you'll never heal. If you don't start looking at the place, you'll never heal. And then something snapped in me with that one. And I started joking about it. So one of the jokes was that I became 3 kilos less overnight. Who loses weight like that? Then I started joking about going boob shopping. That was also really, I mean, it eased people out when I started talking like that. And amongst ourselves, between our family, Guri and me and the kids and some bit of the close and friends and family, we would joke about it and call it cancer perks because suddenly people are listening to me. So somebody asked me what happened. I said, these are all cancer perks. So we drew up a list of 100 cancer perks that happen. Everything is not bad. You suddenly start doing things that are fun. And why do we miss out on humor? It makes you feel a little good at the end of the day. So humor was something that we consciously brought back into our conversations. So we
Wow.
didn't stop partying. We didn't stop traveling. I traveled extensively the year through my treatment. with the help of the doctor, with taking an injection here, taking. So what it told me was that, you let your life flow, things will come. Otherwise, for something I would not have moved. I have to take an injection, I would not have gone, but I went. I traveled everywhere with the injection in an ice box and went. The other fun thing I did was actually with my loss of hair, and so I started wearing scarves differently. Went completely bald and started enjoying scarves, and they became what do you call a Anju symbol. So by the time I finished my chemo and my hair started coming back, I was reluctant to let the scarves go. It had become so much of a part of me.
Can you show us what you did with the scarf? Guys, can you please mute yourself? Can you show us what you did with the scarves?
Okay. So I have two things here. One was with the scarf. I would tie a semi-turban, which would just take it around your head. As you I'm bald, so I would sometimes take it behind my ear, sometimes in front of my ear. I would.
Doesn't she look sexy, guys?
I would then loosen it up and make it the style I wanted. Then some days I would tie it up in really mood based.
Wow.
It was really mood based. It would become a thicker headgear. And so the other thing I was dealing with was, Indian clothes and a headgear like this. So my daughter bought me a cap from New York, and I thought I changed it around. So I would wear a salwar kameez, which is the Indian wear, and the dupatta. What I would do was it became I would take an Indian dupatta and just let it drape around. So it became part of my attire. And all I had to do was change this little color. I mean, there was a party I had to go to. I would change into a nice pink color or a silk band or whatever it may be. And the funny thing is, today also when I go for a wedding, turban seems to be becoming my go-to thing. Now, even though I have the hair.
Wow, that's so.
I must say, I had fascinating things. I've got hair that's come back better because I turned vegan. I had body odor that went away because I turned vegan. I mean, so many changes happened that I just feel healthier and better. And I just feel full of life. I just feel there is what has to come will come. We've learned to flow.
My last question, and then I go to what people have said, and I will read it out for you.
Ambika hai?
Can we off, please? Can we mute?
कुछ बना देगी खाना, ये नहीं खा पाएगी.
मैम आप बाद में खाना बनाना, प्लीज आप म्यूट कर लेंगे. थैंक यू, बहुत शुक्रिया. Okay, so Anju, if I was to make the old Anju stand here, and this is the new Anju, what will the new Anju tell the old Anju?
The new Anju is internally happy. The older Anju was externally happy.
And what does that really mean? Because, happiness is such a broad spectrum story and so differs for everybody. And everybody talks about, happiness is like something that's in a go-to place. But what really is happiness?
I think for me, it is a sense of calm and peace. And that's how I define it for myself.
Wow.
I mean, a new car doesn't give you that high. Helping somebody does. So, I mean, it's a shift in how I think of myself.
Wow. I'm going to open the forum to people for them to ask questions. So I saw some hands up. Yes, please, Mr. Kesri, could you please unmute yourself and ask the question? Thank you. Really great.
Yeah, hi Anju, hi.
Hi.
And good evening, everybody. Yeah, what comes to my mind to ask you is, it seems to me that you have got extension of life, and that may be due to certain certain way of thinking of yours to do something worthwhile in life. So nature has given you extension of life. Do you think like that?
Uh, uh, it, the big shift in my thinking was that let's start taking one day at a time. So that was a big shift in my. I have no. I mean, there's no guarantee as to how long this will be, how beautiful this will be. But we just felt that I just felt that if you start taking it one day at a time, you're just able to manage and be alert, be alive, be present, and do your best for that day.
But astrologically, did you know that at certain age you are going to pass through this crossroads of life? Um, was there any fear in advance?
So
Was there
I've never.
any indication in advance?
So I've never gone to anybody to find that out.
But
Maybe
you
I had fear.
but you had certain aim in life to do something worthwhile in life for the people around, or spiritually you wanted to excel somewhere.
I mean, I'm not sure the question you're asking, but I definitely always want to help people.
Did you
That's
have
the thing.
guidance of some guru who under whom you have your life has changed for more on the spiritual path?
So I think my spiritual path definitely, in fact, I did something called a health holistic questionnaire, which I can talk separately, but that showed that when I got my cancer, my spiritual was actually at the lowest. My physical was on a high. So I was very, very disconnected with the universe, so to say. While externally happy, externally everything, I was disconnected. And that process, I'm not sure if I can answer in words, but definitely the changes that I made to myself made me more spiritually aware. I don't have a guru, but I think a lot of angels came to my life to work with me.
Yeah. So you have been blessed with certain extension of life, as what I can see. You are so dashing in your uh, ideas about um, how to improve things for yourself as well as for others.
Mhm.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Can we go to the next person? Claudia, could you unmute yourself and ask the question? Because you've written so much, it would be nice that if you can speak yourself. Thank you.
Thank you. Anu, you touched me. I'm totally at awe with your inner strength for overcoming very difficult situation. I have two questions for you. One is, how did you deal with people who self-pitied you, knowing that self-pity is not what you needed and what you wanted, while you were, going through your own strength? How did you deal with people who self-pitied you?
So I think in a single word, it would be humor, and with humor. And I think I also got to realize that the other person is feeling like that. Actually, it comes from their fear, not mine. If they're feeling pity, it's really their fear. So the way I dealt with it was openly talk to them. Don't let it pass, but talk to them about it. Show them what it is. Talk. So in a way, once everything is sitting on the table, there is no criticism. There's nothing left to converse because I'm talking about it.
Mm.
I'm not letting it pass as something that's happening behind my back.
Mm.
So that's how I addressed it. And humor was the other thing that if you see somebody smiling, somebody at peace, somebody at this thing, then what are you pitying? It's really your fear.
Yeah. Thank you. And the other question was, you talked about a healing therapy, and the line was very bad, so I couldn't hear it. Something you did towards it, you talked about it towards the end of your talk, a healing modality, and I couldn't hear the name.
That was cellular meditation. Was it that I said last? I really am not sure.
If you could just repeat all the therapies that you did, that would help her out, I think. If you could
I spoke about yoga, dancing, Sufi twirling, Reiki, meta healing, hypnotherapy, acupressure. I think cellular healing is what cellular healing meditation is what I said in the end, if I remember correctly.
Maybe it was that. What is that?
That's a combination of somebody's put together a combination of activities which are meditative, and they talk inward to your cells.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a fascinating combination of therapies, chanting, the water, the kavach, if you know what it is, that's the geometric designs of the universe, all put together. So it's actually very, very fascinating, and how it talks to your cells and works on the inner self.
Is there a link? Is there something I can read up on it?
I can send it to you separately through Anu.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You could put it on the group, Anju, and I will include you in the group, so then you can put everything on the group.
I'll put it. Thanks.
Yes. The next question is Vasavi says it's beautiful. Would you like to unmute yourself and say whatever you want to say, Vasavi?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. You can actually start now. Yes, hello.
Hi.
So, hi. I firstly want to say that your journey is very inspiring. And I really love how you spoke of humor and breathing, like two very simple but very underrated things. And I also want to this is a question I had. So it's a very common phrase that people use, live each day like it's your last, or be grateful, forgive yourself. And when we are living every day in our lives, it's like we try to, but sometimes we're not able to do it. It's like even the phrase like, oh, feel grateful, it can become a bit annoying, or it can feel burden, like, oh, I'm not able to, I'm so angry, something like that.
Yeah.
And what I loved actually was how you said, you lost your anger. Like you just did it. Like it was like usually we keep trying, we're working on ourselves, trying to lose anger, trying to be better. But it's just like, it makes me wonder, was it any particular realization you had that made you just lose your anger? Like, was it anything?
I think the first thing was to discover that I had anger. I didn't know what was anger that was sitting in my body. For me, it was angry and get away. I didn't realize that I was bottling it up.
Can I request each and every one of you to mute yourself? Someone is fighting on the group. Can you please mute yourself? Thank you. I really appreciate it. I can still hear the fight. Okay, got it. Yes, Manju.
So I think the first thing was understanding my anger, that I had anger. And I think learning what anger was also a journey. It wasn't, today you're hearing me say it after 9 years that I lost it. But while I was going through it, I didn't even understand that I had anger and that I was resentful. And I think all the therapies I did were unpeeling that thinking in me. I worked extensively with Anu on that and trying to understand where it was coming from. And once you started understanding, I also realized that all the therapies actually bring you down to align your body centrally to the universe, period. Whether it's yoga, there's Tai Chi, there's whatever you name it. It actually boils down to aligning yourself with your chakras and into the center of the earth. Once you're aligned, it's said that you will not get ailments, you will not get anything. It's a fascinating journey, actually.
Wow, that's thank you so much for that. That's going to be very insightful for me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Learn as many therapies as you can is what I say.
Okay, I'm going to take that. Thank you. I'll do that.
Yes. Thank you so much, Vasavi, for that amazing question. And thank you, Anju, for answering it.
Thank you.
Let's go to the next person. That's Dr. Nivedita. Would you like to unmute yourself and say yourself? She's written over here, very inspiring. Anju, you're a brave heart. But why not just connect right now yourself?
Why not?
Dr. Nivedita, are you there? Okay, she's not there. She's written on the forum and gone that you're a brave heart and she really admires what you have just said. Darpana, are you there? Could you unmute yourself and talk yourself? Thank you. Darpana, are you there? Darpana,
Yeah, hi Anju. I'm really proud of you.
Thank you, Darpana.
Really proud of you. I can't even talk. I'm getting so emotional hearing you out. You're so transparent, so out of heart you can talk. And I love your approach to this life. How nicely you've taken it. It has motivated so many people here, I'm sure. Please be the way you are. And I'm sure we too will follow you at the way you think about the life. You value life. I'm very proud of you for that. People take life for granted nowadays. They don't value life. But life comes only once. I know that we should always value life. And therapies, I have myself started doing, I don't know how and why, some new therapies, learning Reiki, learning radical healing. I don't know, somehow I'm getting attracted to it. And I'm so thank you. I will continue doing more of these therapies now. They are really blissful. God bless you, Anju.
Thank you, Darpana. Thank you so
Darpana.
much.
Thank you, Darpana. That was
Right.
heartfelt, absolute amazing. And yes, studies are one thing. You spend so much of time and money on everything. You spend so much of money on ornaments. Why not on education? One thing that takes off in ignorance is education. The last question is coming from Teji Sethi. Would you like to unmute yourself, because I have the next speaker in next 3 minutes. I'm going to put the next speaker on. So Teji Sethi and Ashwini, both of you, could you just unmute yourself, Teji Sethi, and say what you need to say? Thank you.
Hi Anu, no question. I think I put on the chat to Anju.
Okay.
Very inspiring to hear from you, Anju, and really the way you spoke, it doesn't, I mean, you made it so smooth, the way you narrated it. You're really very brave, and you were so open to receive all and try all the holistic healing. I think the universe truly introduced you to so many different people and beautiful souls. So thank you for
Cannot agree with you
sharing.
more, Teji.
Thank you, Teji.
Thank you so much.
Please mute yourself, Teji. Thank you so much. Beautiful sharing. Ashwini is the last person who's written over here. The rest of you can go and keep writing on the chat if you want to. Ashwini, would you like to say what you want to say?
Yes, Anju, this was really so beautifully told, and the way you dealt with it, it's amazing, because people actually get into such a different depression. And I have seen, you know, my brother-in-law's sister went through it, and she went through really a lot of emotional ups and downs. But the way you dealt with it, you know, in that going into in your inner self, and believing in the holistic forms of healing, I think that is really amazing. And you have told everything today so beautiful, and it's so inspiring. I'm totally inspired, you know. And whatever you said about seeing the death and what you thought, that was like really beautiful, the way you said it. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you. It means a lot.
Thank
I
you.
had a lot of support. Thank you.
Thank you. So thank you again, Anju.
Thank you, Anu.
I am so honored to have you here. And
thank you.
Every day I learn from you all. And can you imagine sitting at home and learning every day has really expanded my field. Thank you. Thank you.
One thing, Anju, I wanted to tell her, she'll become a stylist. We can learn from a different way of
It's all home styling.
using the scarf.
Yeah, you can.
Happy to teach anyone.
So beautiful. They are really beautiful.
Happy to teach anyone.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So I'm now